Up for Grabs, a podcast where three unfiltered friends talk about anything and everything. And now, here are your hosts, Tracy, Kim, and Rachel.
Welcome to Up for Grabs. I'm your host, Rachel, with my friends Tracy.
Hello.
And Kim.
Hello.
Welcome back. Today, we are going back to school. And I'm not talking Rodney Dangerfield. Wasn't that the bad back to school when he went to school?
I think so. I just got that question on Jeopardy the other day.
Oh my gosh, that's a Jeopardy question?
I know. Well, the answer was Rodney Dangerfield from Back to School. So yeah, it was.
Huh. Because there is a scene in that. Did you see it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, and I don't think I'm his target audience. I didn't think he was necessarily that funny.
Correct.
But the scene at the end where he's on the diving platform and it's him like doing ridiculous, like
that's what I remember when you said that movie. That's what came to mind. That's seriously what came to mind. I'm like, I think the only thing I remember is him, his body double or whatever, doing crazy dives.
And it was just ridiculous. It's the only thing I remember from the whole movie too. But it's the physical humor that gets me. So Rodney Dangerfield doing backflips.
We have a podcast where no one can see us. We're doing a lot of physical comedy right here that you all are missing.
Yes, we're tripping over stools right now, just like Dick Van Dyke. No, we're going back to school. Tracy is an educator. That's a fancy word for teacher.
Yeah,
well, once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher.
All right.
But you're not currently in the classroom, I guess is correct. What you're trying to say. We're going back to school. We thought we would discuss some of our favorite memories of preparing to go back to school. And then we were going to get into some favorite teachers or teaching moments, because I think we all have those. We all have a teacher we loved and one that we didn't. So, and we're naming names.
Yes, we are on some of them.
Oh boy. Okay. Tracy's name.
For legal reasons, I'm not naming all the names.
She'll change a letter to throw you off. Okay, so let's talk about back to school prep. I didn't love, but did look forward to the back to school clothes shopping. This just in, not a fashionista. Yeah, so I wore a lot of sweatpants and jeans with sweatshirts, which other people put a lot more effort into their outfits than I did. But I did like getting the new shoes.
I was going to say, all through grade school, I was in uniform. Roncalli in high school was still out of uniform, but we couldn't wear jeans or sweatpants. So it was almost like we were business casual.
Oh, God.
And it was absolutely, Tracy would have liked that, blazers. But it was exhausting. Tennis shoes or flats, like in grade school or whatever.
Right.
That was exciting.
That was the way you showed your personality. When you wore a uniform, shoes were a big deal.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about, am I the only nerdy kid? Okay, this just in, wasn't a super great student, but I looked at school as an opportunity to be social. And I also loved, maybe I was a little OCD, but school supplies, like I couldn't wait for the list to come out.
Yes.
And I couldn't wait to get my new stuff and organize it.
Oh, yeah.
Every year was a fresh beginning.
All those crayons were new.
All the new crayons, all the unused notebooks from the previous year that didn't get used. And I needed new ones to color coordinate and match my folder.
I loved school. I mean, I still love school supplies.
It's a time of hope.
It is.
Before everything just goes to hell.
Keeper.
Oh my God.
The Trapper Keeper.
Yeah.
Those were around when I was in 5th grade, when those were kind of a newer thing.
Yeah.
But mine had like a puppy on it. There's ones with like kittens. And you, color coordinated the heck out of it.
Yep.
It would be a waterfall.
I think mine had like rainbows and stuff on it.
Yeah, there was a rainbow one.
And it was kind of puffy.
Yeah.
You know, like kind of a puffy material.
Excuse me, fancy.
It ripped easy though.
Yeah.
They did rip easy.
Calling you fancy, I should probably apologize to a girl in grade school. She was an only child and she was spoiled. Her name was Tina. And, she always had the scented markers and scented erasers and all that stuff. And I took several of them throughout the years. So sorry, Tina. She had extra.
Admitting to stealing someone else's school supplies?
She had extra. I don't see the problem.
You were at a Catholic school, right?
So did you sit
Yes.
next to her and then you just would kind of swipe it out of her pencil pouch?
I don't really recall how it happened. All I know
look over
is
there, Tina.
I never bought scented markers, and yet I had some. So I don't know how that happened, but I did end up with scented markers and erasers shaped like animals.
Oh, yeah. You
that
get
was
those
not stuff.
get those at
that we were-
Claire's. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I didn't get that fancy I never had scented markers, but one thing that I always was in a quandary about was when the school supplies was come out. Did yours always say to get an art gum eraser? Do you know what I'm talking
No,
about?
I know what you're talking about.
Like it's not like a normal, and then you could never find an art gum eraser.
No, I think you had to go to like a specialty art supply store,
And I'm like,
nobody was going.
I'm not Picasso. I'm like, I could barely get through art class, but I remember being stressed that we were going like to the first day of art class,
Yes.
and I didn't
Yeah.
have my art gum eraser.
I haven't even heard that term. They had a certain smell. They
And
had
they
a certain,
crumbled. If you remember
yes,
that,
they
they
had a
crumbled.
certain like texture. You just brought me back. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I just remember never having one, and then when I finally found one, I thought it was really fun. But then I don't think I ever really used it. I think you use it once, and the
Yeah.
thing it was like
Yes,
down to a
yeah.
nub.
Yes. For that one required art project.
Yes. So yes, I wanted to give a shout out to the art gum eraser. I also loved. You had to have the number 2 pencils, whatever. But back when I was a kid, was it a popular thing for you guys to have the NFL football pencils?
No.
No.
Oh my God.
That must have been a geographical specific
They
thing.
were NFL pencils. They had the names of all the teams on them, and they were colored for their colors. And they came in an NFL pack, and like
The boys probably had them.
Maybe it was a North Side thing.
No.
Rachel's the cool girl with the NFL pencils.
Yeah.
Well, I always
don't.
picked the Cardinals because the Cardinals pencil was white and with red lettering, and I liked their logo. And they were a
Go Cards.
horrible football team.
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
No.
Any other school supply and or back to school prep that you would like to reminisce about?
No, I think you really hit on it with the hopefulness of everyone clean your rooms. We're going to go to bed on time. We're going to make lunches. You're going to get up and have a good breakfast. Like, there's just so much hope with back to school. A fresh start, organized.
How long did it last? How long did it last for you?
Tuesday.
Okay. So let's skip on then to talking about some teachers.
Okay.
I made categories of different teachers. Some people,
Who shall remain nameless.
Tracy,
Yeah.
made their own categories. Whatever, but you have to play along with my rules, and then you can jump in and do your own.
I will do my best.
No, you need to tell me right now you're going to follow the rules.
I feel like you're trying to be a teacher right now.
Is it working?
You've subbed a lot more probably than I taught back in the day. So I feel like you're the boss. Go on, teacher.
Okay, good. Okay, so I want to first, I think we should talk about our favorite teachers. Now, the favorite teachers doesn't mean, there's another category that's impact teachers, like someone that really helped change the course of what you were doing.
Absolutely.
But favorite teacher, did you have that, Tracy?
Yeah. It was a little hard to come up with, but I do.
What, was it hard because you liked so many of your teachers?
So yes and no. I liked a lot of them, and I had a dislike list and a lot of in the middle. But I didn't have one that was just like, yes, that I like my absolute awesome favorite. But when I was forced to pick, I could pick one.
You're being forced to pick.
Okay.
Okay. Who is it?
Sister Rita. Yeah.
What did Sister Rita teach?
She taught English freshman year. She had all the freshmen, and then she ended up teaching like a couple other classes, I think, later on. But the best things about her as a teacher is that, like, she was so probably OCD now that I know what it is, because I think the chairs were 3 and 4. I can't remember, but they were spaced out according to the blocks on the floor. And every class, when you got in, you put the square of your front leg of your chair onto that square. Like, there was tape on the floor. You knew it was all so regimented. And she had a couple of green sheets, which were like construction paper that we had to write all of our grammar rules on. And everything was on, I still have them, on like these 3 pieces of construction paper. Like, everything was just so you knew exactly what her expectations were. And if you gave her those, you were getting a good grade, and she was going to make sure you knew all the basics. My brother had her 10 years before me, and I am certain on day 7 of freshman year, she taught me the same thing that she taught him on day 7 of freshman year.
Yeah, very, very structured.
So there's some comfort in that structure. But she also liked me. I was one of her favorites. And she overwhelmingly preferred the boys and made it, not in a gross way, but made it obvious that she just, like she was an older lady. And if she had grandchildren, her grandsons would be her favorite. So that was kind of the vibe that she gave off. So for her to like me was a big deal. So she liked me. She was also very involved in all the charity aspects of school. And everyone had to bring her for Christmas. It was like an assignment, a giant size Hershey bar with almonds, as she called them.
Almonds.
And I think she took them all to an orphanage or a boys' school somewhere. I mean, she collected hundreds of chocolate bars every year.
That or she just ate a whole bunch of chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm not judging if that's the case. Good for her. I should have done such a thing. She just, I think, had a good heart. She was rough. Like, people were sometimes scared of her, but then she would be sweet. And so
I think there's also something
in there.
I can identify. I can, especially freshman year of high school, kind of a time of uncertainty. Yes. When you knew when you were going in that this person wasn't going to throw any curveballs, like they were regimented and you knew what you were going to get.
100%.
Because other teachers kind of, when they fly by the seat of their pants, when you're already awkward and whatever, it just makes you nervous to walk in the door. You're like, what's going to happen today?
Right. Yeah, I appreciate structure.
I do too.
I mean, I just think kids do better with that anyways.
Right.
How about you, Kim? Did you have a fave that you could pick?
I mean, like Tracy said, I didn't have one that, like took me under their wing and was my mentor type teacher. But I went to, for all you Southsiders that listen, I went to Roncalli for high school, Southside school here. And I thought about the 4 years. I didn't have a teacher that I hated, that I disliked. I mean, I truly had some of the best teachers. Wow. And a couple that came to mind, I had a religion teacher. His name's Kevin Kleiber. And I believe his daughter was or is like a counselor at Roncalli.
Oh, yeah. Lisa.
Yeah. Lisa Beckwith. I had him, and he, I was trying to think last night to describe, he was just very real. And I forget what type of like the religion class. I don't, they're different than they were. They're more like everyday life type things. And he always told real stories about his family and about his kids, I don't know. He just was a very I didn't look at him as an authoritative figure, more so as somebody, I'm having a hard time coming up with the word. He just spoke to me. When he just spoke to me, I just thought he
didn't speak down to you.
Right. Like he treated us like young adults instead of kids in his classroom that he had to wrangle in every day. And he just was a great teacher.
Love it.
So he was like the very first one that came to my mind. Another really good teacher, and boy, did she put up with me because I was not good in math. And her enthusiasm, she made me laugh every day. She's still a favorite at Roncalli. It was Miss Dutro at the time, and it's Mrs. Toner now. So she's taught there for a really long time. Yes. And I had her for geometry, and I still see her today, and I still get the same feeling. Like, I just look at her. I look at me as being the child, and or young adult, and her being my teacher. I just love her. And if you know Mrs. Toner, you know why I say that. So,
and I think that's important also to point out that it really, I mean, like you said, you didn't like math, but she helped you get through that.
Yes.
And you loved English, but it's also the way she made you feel.
Yes,
because you don't probably remember math. No, I'm speaking for myself when I say I don't remember math. But if you really liked her, that meant that she made you feel comfortable going into something that you weren't necessarily confident about.
Right,
and made you feel.
Yeah, she definitely had a way of making the students that maybe struggle a little bit not feel dumb,
like idiots. Yeah,
like idiots. And she put humor into everything that she did and made math I hate math, but she made math fun.
Good.
I mean, out of all the math that I took around college, geometry was my favorite, and it was because of her. So,
yikes. All right.
My geometry teacher in high school, he showed up the first day, and it was his first day.
Oh,
bless his heart.
Because he got cut from Colts training camp.
Oh.
And that's back when the Colts were bad.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, you must be just terrible. But this poor man walked in on the first day, Mr. Davidson, revealed to high school sophomores that he had been cut from the Colts, which I would never have told anybody. And I always just wondered, is he really a teacher? Is he qualified to be here?
I'm sure he was. Did he give you a Colts pencil to use for class?
I wouldn't have used it. I'm still
Cardinals fan.
like
partial to Cardinals.
All right.
All right. Do you have any other teachers you'd like to talk about? As
I did have a grade school teacher that I adored, and I've been trying to think of what her first name is, but I know her name was Mrs. Montel. So she was my 4th grade teacher. So I think this is very common because I know that you, Rachel, you and I have shared this, and a couple of my children have been through this. I went through like a period in grade school, probably like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, where I had super bad anxiety, and I didn't want to be at school, and I was nervous. And if my mom came on the days that we went to mass, I would cry and want to go home with my mom. I mean, and I was too old to be crying, or it just, Mrs. Montel got me through 4th grade. She literally got me through it. I mean, she was very, how are we doing today, Kim? And, put a smile on your face, and would, give me a hug, or would give me a pencil that, she just very subtle, but and I absolutely adored her. And so that was just somebody that I don't really remember 4th grade that much, as far as like, I'm very,
other than that you made it through.
Yeah. I'm very I have terrible grade school memory, and I don't know why. I have a very hard time. I can remember teachers, but I just don't remember, probably because I blocked it all out. I just, but she made a difference. She made a difference in,
and how she made you feel.
And how she made me feel, to where I may have been excited sometimes to go to school. So, and that was very rare in grade school.
Yeah.
Well, and you talking about her is a good time for me to mention one of my notes that doesn't fit into the categories.
Great.
And it's a special shout out to all the teachers who help kids pass when they know they are capable of the work, but they're struggling with maybe something outside of the classroom.
Yes.
But not as much for myself necessarily, but for my kids. There were several times that there were teachers that knew my kids' intelligence, knew their ability. She saw you do that work on Tuesday. You didn't do it on Wednesday or Thursday, and she didn't make you pay for it, grade-wise. And because she knew, or he. So I'm just saying, those teachers, to me, are making the biggest difference. So it may not be the ones that are coaching or teaching the highest level course in science, or whatever it is. It may be the ones that keep the kids going to the next year or the next week.
My favorite teacher that I thought of right away was my 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher. And in 8th grade, he was my homeroom teacher, but it's Mr. Joe Spangler. Now, Mr. Spangler, this is when I was at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, so it was a private Catholic school, and he wasn't Catholic.
Yep.
But he would, at Mass, he would always start the Lamb of God. Everyone's saying...
He was involved. He was engaged.
With you. All of a sudden you'd hear his big booming voice come from the back. Lamb of... and I'm like, who's this non-Catholic back here pushing Mass along? He probably just wanted to get out of there. Yeah. He had a very distinctive look. Now, I don't know why or how he wanted to pull off a Hitler mustache.
Oh.
But he did.
Nope. No. Nopey, nope. That works for no one since 1944 or whatever it was. After that, no one can wear
No one can do it?
Nope.
Well...
was he did he have any kind of background in the military?
He did.
Might be why.
I think he did. Yeah. Either he did or he wanted to, because he
That is more likely the case. No, that is not a good look.
Oh, no, it wasn't a good... everyone was like...
That's awful.
And 8th graders are mean. The fact that he was like, I'm rocking this look and I don't care that you're all calling me Hitler behind my back. Good for you. He had a powder blue suit that he had a vest and a pocket watch. A pocket watch. Who is this guy?
Were you Little House of the Prairie? Where the heck were you?
Exactly. He taught social studies, and he did it in a way that was fun. Like,
he was just eccentric. Sounds like.
Oh my gosh, Kim, you don't even know. He had like a memorized speech that he would say every time before he passed out a quiz. I remember it. I won't bore you with it, but everyone knew it, and we're like, oh, Mr. Smith. I remember it to this day. He would draw a caricature of himself, Hitler mustache included, on the top of your page if you did extra good. Like if you got a little caricature of Mr. Spangler, you knew that you did really well on a test. He was married, didn't have any kids, but he did have a dog named Beauregard a basset hound that he brought to school when he dressed up like the Civil War and made his wife come in as her Civil War thing, and they had like a tent out in the parking lot set up to show like what a camping site would look like for the Civil War.
Yep.
He's probably retired and working at Conner Prairie, maybe.
He would be perfect for that.
He was.
Except the Hitler
mustache wouldn't.
So anyway, Joe Spangler, quite a character. Obviously loved what he did because he wasn't getting paid anything
exactly
at a Catholic school. So anywho,
what detail, Rachel?
Well, he left quite an impression.
Gosh.
What you got for what should we do? What do you tell me? What's the next category you want to do?
Are we doing least favorite?
Do you want to do least favorite?
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay, first one I'm not mentioning. Second one is a middle school teacher of Zach's, not mine.
But she still isn't really playing by the rules.
No, she's
you
not.
said least favorite.
I know. I thought it. I meant personally in your. But go ahead.
Okay, so Zach, 6th grade. In 5th grade, he had a major stroke and a brain injury. Okay, so you got to know this. And all of his teachers got the information. He had a 504, which gave some accommodations, whatever, that he never liked to use because he didn't want to be different than everyone else.
Correct.
He kept getting zeros on his journal. And I said, why are you getting zeros on your journal? And he said, because I keep forgetting it in my locker and I can't go back and get it. And I said, well, just leave it in the classroom. And he comes home the next day and says, she won't let me. I said, what do you mean she won't let you? Like, she won't let me. So I email her and say, he has memory issues. He takes Alzheimer's medication to try to preserve memory loss, like prevent further loss. He just needs to keep it in there. She says no. And I said, so there are 3 lengthy back and forth exchanges through email. If you know me,
you're not going to give up.
I'm not going to give up. And my kids laugh and make fun of me because I don't think I'm problematic, but apparently my kids think I am. But anyway.
Apparently every customer service agent thinks you are.
No, I am not. I don't do that. I don't ask for the manager. But like when it comes to my kids, then I'm right there.
Okay.
Anyway, so we do these 3 back and forths. And her argument is that she does not have room for 100 notebooks in her classroom. And she has 100 students. And I said, you have 1 with a major brain injury. I'm asking for 1 spiral bound notebook. She refused to bend. So I did what any mother would do, and I contacted his neurologist and got a letter saying I need this. I need a letter saying he needs a dedicated space in each of his classrooms because of his memory. I contacted school and called an emergency 504 meeting. They had to bring in the counselor. They had to bring in there's like 7 people at the table for a 504 meeting, and it's a big pain in the butt. So they bring them all in. I needed it that week. Got it changed to where she had to designate a spot for him in the room, like a cubby area for his belongings.
Oh, he
probably still didn't do his journal, which is beside the point. My lesson here is don't make things unnecessarily difficult for students.
For no reason.
For no reason.
Did she take that out on him in class? I mean, what did Zach say about she was bitter?
Yeah. She is one of his lifetime arch nemesis. And as luck would have it, she got moved to the next year, next grade. He had her again. And he was like, Mom. And I'm like, I know. So he lived and was better for it. And so whether or not I have a voodoo doll, I don't know. We're
not going to talk. That's a different podcast.
That's a different podcast. Okay. So that's my least.
Kim, did you have a least favorite that you feel comfortable talking about?
Yeah, because it's grade school.
Okay.
So there were a couple that I had in grade school. And I was going to talk about a male teacher that taught like in 7th and 8th grade, like social studies, but he wasn't necessarily mean to me. He was just a bully with the boys. But I did have a PE teacher, and I'm just going to call her out by her name. It was Miss Hurley. And she taught 7th and 8th grade as well. And I don't know what she taught, but she was the PE teacher as well. And she was just a freaking bully. And I had a boyfriend in grade school.
What?
Yeah. I don't know how, but I did. And, you exchange notes, the playground or recess. Playground, that sounded ridiculous for when you're in 7th or 8th grade. But anyways, so she confiscated a note.
Oh, no.
Not the read out loud. I know where you're going. No.
And I was in 8th grade and the boy was in 7th grade.
You were robbing the cradle.
I was. And, it was a note where we would keep the same note, but we would write to it, like just answer questions. And we would pass it in the halls. I mean,
Yes.
this and that. So she confiscates it at the end of the school day. And the next day, I come to school and there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of this, there's a lot of that. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I had some very mean girls in my class. And I was very insecure and I'm like, she had read the note to like one of the classes.
To the whole class?
To the whole class.
Why?
I remember when people would do that. It's horrible.
A teacher.
Why?
I have no idea. And at that time, we had a principal who was not a good principal and was not a good lady. She embezzled from our school and was subsequently fired. She's no longer alive, so it's not, I don't feel bad saying it, but it was just a complete beep show. Like,
right.
Anyways, so my mom, being as, she goes over there with, the principal, with Miss Hurley, with me, and it backfired. Because the principal didn't care and Miss Hurley certainly didn't care. I think she still did, she thought she was mean. And, the rest of the school year was complete. I hated it. She, picked me out. Like she would, when we would do different things in gym class, she would single me out. She would make me do the cleanup. It was awful. Like nowadays that there would be no tolerance. I mean,
wow.
That kind of stuff would get a teacher fired.
Yes.
Type thing. But it was humiliating.
Well, that's terrible.
So I think I might need therapy right now. Karma got her somehow, I'm sure.
Well, that is like a real reason not to like someone. The least favorite teacher that I have, my reason seems very flimsy after hearing that teacher actively bullied you.
Are you just being rude? What happened?
No, it was my kindergarten teacher.
That is so sad because everyone loves their kindergarten teacher.
I hardly even remember kindergarten.
Well, I hold a little bit of a grudge. I mean, she was probably a nice lady, but the grading system in kindergarten when I was there, they just did S plus for satisfactory, great job, S for satisfactory, and N for needs improvement.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, well, my report card comes home and I'm killing it in kindergarten. Like I am just all over it, right?
Aw, with your new outfit.
I love story time. I felt like I was working well with others. There's an N.
Working well with others.
There's a freaking N on my report card.
Penmanship?
Worse. Cutting. And you know why, Mrs. Van Dyne? You know why I got an N in cutting?
I have a good idea, but I'm going to wait and see if you say it.
I was using the green-handled left-handed scissors on my right hand because I cut with my right hand. I write with my left hand, but I cut with my right hand. And I didn't know that the green handle meant...
Oh,
and actually they said lefty on it, but it was one of those things I'm like,
you can't read.
Well, that, and I thought, well, I am a lefty. I just thought maybe I had special
you were in kindergarten,
scissors for my right hand. So everything I cut looked like I was just ripping it with my hands because guess what?
They don't
left-handed
work that way.
scissors don't work on right-handed people. Yeah, she gave me an N. And of course, because my family is who they are, they put that up on the old fridge just to make sure everybody saw that I was special.
Coming from the girl that still has the Hardee's plaque hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I clearly
you needed positive reinforcement.
I did, and it started at an early age. So, of course, me as an adult, I'm like, that dumb lady didn't even notice I was using her green-handled scissors on my right hand. I was right-handed. Shame on her.
As a left-handed person, there are only 2 pair of green-handled scissors in the classroom set.
Yeah.
We don't appreciate when a righty takes them because then we can't cut anything either.
So we were both...
I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming the teacher.
And
she should have made sure that the lefties got the scissors.
And did you notice that the green-handled lefty scissors were dull?
They were always dull.
No, but they didn't...
bent the paper.
They were circular.
It wrapped around. Yeah. Oh.
They weren't like sharp scissors. Like,
yeah.
They were circular.
They were safety scissors.
They were safety scissors.
But why did I need that?
I don't know.
Because
that probably has more to do with your attitude.
Yeah, she didn't want to give me sharp scissors. I would come at her with, hey, Mrs. Van Dyne, here's how I feel about my lefty scissors. So yeah, my least favorite.
Yeah, but still, when you're... Nobody wants to see an N on their report card.
I need an improvement.
Kindergarten.
I know what else needs improvement.
And out of all things, cutting.
So yeah, and she also paired me with the ugly redheaded boy for the Christmas program. I think it was...
She really didn't like you.
I think it was an alphabetical issue, but I'd like to say that she...
I'd like to say she probably was after you.
After the N on the report card, she was getting no love from me.
I 100% will say some teachers are out to get some people. As a former teacher and as a parent and a student, 100%, some teachers pick on kids.
Do you think that... I think I was picked on as a kindergartner?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes they do.
Certain kids get on your nerves. Let's be... I'm not saying that... No, I think that she just wasn't very observant.
She wasn't paying attention.
I mean, nobody's perfect. Teachers aren't perfect, and they shouldn't be expected to be. But to think that they don't play favorites and have...
Oh, they absolutely do.
They absolutely have favorites. And they also have ones they don't like. I'm not going to name any, but there were a few that I didn't like.
Yeah.
They were horrible.
Okay.
People.
And then Mrs. Van Dyne, shame on her. I hope she didn't scar any other kids with... and not
let them
sufficient.
have the right scissors and
yeah,
bad grade for cutting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's move on to, is there a memorable teacher? Memorable meaning maybe a story that happened in the classroom or just for whatever reason you remember them, not necessarily for being a good teacher.
Yeah, I don't have that category, but I do have a story. I do have a story about a teacher. That's a memory. I don't know, but I don't know that I call it memorable. It's just rando.
Okay, that's not a category. Rando's not a category.
All right. So in 5th grade, I had Mrs. Kane, short lady, gray hair, whatever. She was just like a whatever teacher. Anyway, she wrote an episode of Timothy Church Mouse, which was a
I watched
a puppet show on.
It was creepy
on local cable.
Yeah,
and it was creepy. But I thought she was famous because she wrote an episode of Timothy Church Mouse, and I had that totally random memory for someone who has memory issues. When I'm trying to think of teachers, and I had this. Her name was Joan Kane. If she's famous, I don't think she is. But,
she's not. With all the church mice.
So there's that. That's the random
memorable
memory.
teacher. Okay. Kim, how about you? Nothing memorable.
Nothing memorable. I will say that just a funny, the teacher that I was talking about, Kevin Kleiber, that taught me religion that I was close to. I worked at Paul Harris in the mall when I worked in high school. And, it was kind of a place like where it would be like business casual, a lot of dresses, a lot of this and that. He would come in frequently and get clothes for his wife and get my discount. So
I have had you talk about him before. Now I know who you're talking about, and you did love him.
And I adored him. And I also thought that it was so neat that he would come in and buy his wife clothes without her being in there.
That's unheard of.
I know. That's what kind of a person he was.
Okay,
and,
I like him.
So he coached cross country. My husband had him as well, and he stayed close with the kids that he coached in high school. I mean, and not in a weird way whatsoever, but like Joe has run into him, a couple different times throughout.
And was happy to see him.
And was happy to see him and made a very big influence on their lives.
I like that. The only teacher that I could think of that kind of made an impact on me just for a weird reason, in high school, I had a world history teacher. Mm-hmm. He just recently passed within the past probably 3 or 4 years, but his name was Mr. Shoup, and he was
Shoop. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Song came to mind.
Wait,
Yeah.
isn't that the TV show's teacher's name? Where they all
What TV
sing?
show?
Isn't it Shoop?
No, Mr.
What are you talking about?
Oh,
Were
the
they-
Glee. What was his name?
What was his name? Was it not
Schuster, I thought.
Oh.
Why
They
do I
call him-
know that?
But they call him Shoe.
Yeah.
But she said Shoop.
I know. It's just
Anyway.
close. Sorry.
It has nothing to do with Glee. So Mr.
Don't
Shoop,
get mad at me.
Mr. Shoop coached cross country. I didn't run cross country, but I knew he was a cross country coach. But he was about 5 foot, maybe 2.
Oh, that's
with red hair.
Oh.
And he was really pale. And he had glasses.
Oh.
And he taught world history. But the thing that, I mean, he looked memorable. But the thing that I don't know to this day if he was just pretending to believe this or if he really did believe this. But when he would show us like pictures from history, like he made it seem like he was there, like firsthand, like in another life he was there.
I don't understand what you're saying. He superimposed himself? Like, what are you even
No,
talking
he would
about?
like show something like at the Louvre, you know, we'd like be looking at like some famous painting and he would make a comment that made you wonder, is he saying that he was there when it was painted? Like he's like something, because he would just make offhanded, weird, vague comments like, well, at the time, you know, such and such mediums weren't used, or
It was known.
or like shown, well, they'd show pictures of like a battlefield and a war, and he would intimate that he was there. But he was so kind of odd that no one called him out. Like,
No one said, hey, I don't think so.
no, I think everyone was just kind of like, okay.
Maybe he really got into role playing to teach history to kind of make it stick.
I don't know. Maybe he was. All I know is that he came across that he was there and he was just odd enough that I kind of believed him. And I think maybe that's what he was going for. Maybe he just wanted high school kids to believe it. Maybe other people at Carmel High School can tell me if
So a
that was.
leprechaun time traveler is what I'm picturing.
That's kind of what I'm picturing.
that's pretty much it.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It works. Well, leprechauns are magical. So.
And they're also not real. So.
Maybe.
Again,
Or
I don't
are
know.
they?
Are they?
Or are they?
Coming up next month, conspiracy theories.
Oh, we do need to do one.
Yeah.
We do need to do a conspiracy theory. Okay. So that was my memorable teacher that may or may not have time traveled. Let's talk about impact teachers. Like, did you do this, Tracy? Like one that you really like, a go-to teacher that you think, this person made me want to do something later in life or help me along in a hard time. Impact.
No.
I didn't. I didn't either. Really.
I didn't for myself. No, I have several names that I want to give a shout out to on behalf of my children because they were impactful teachers.
But you had no impactful teachers.
No one that I would say is that I still think of as that. No.
Okay, keep going.
All right. So, Mr. Poole, Sammy, she just loved him, loved his classes, and just loved him as a person.
What did he teach?
I don't know. I don't know what half them taught.
Was he really a teacher?
My kids went to a school, yes. My kids went to a school with over 2,000 kids. I don't know, a lot of thousands of kids, maybe more than 2,000. I don't know, a lot of kids. Big school, and it's easy to get lost in the shuffle, and they didn't because of
some of the teachers. Okay.
So guidance counselor Amy Lewis, Ames, other people weren't allowed to call her that, but of course my kids did. It was
Wow.
Miss Lewis. But she... my kids were not assigned to her. You know, alphabetically you're assigned to a different counselor, but she was so good. They all went to her. She took care of things. I would text her at 10 o'clock at night with the problem and it would be handled by the time I woke up. So
Wow.
she's amazing and I love her. Miss Lloyd, shout out to Miss Lloyd. Alex, when I asked my kids, you know, which teachers, and she said, Miss Lloyd for letting me lay on multiple desks crying, eating Cheetos. So I don't really know what that's about other than sometimes you need a teacher you can go to and cry and eat Cheetos, and Miss Lloyd was that person for Alex.
I like that.
So,
Hey, I didn't ask my kids who their impact teacher was because that wasn't one of the categories, but keep going.
again, I know I said I couldn't think of any on my own, so I had to have some help, so I didn't come with nothing to the table.
Thank you for coming with something to the table. Anything
I
else?
brought my church mouse story.
It was a good one.
That's all I have.
So Kim, did you have anyone that you could think of, maybe just for
I had a couple teachers in high school that helped me as far as like Deb Sachs was, and Roncalli alums will remember her, one of the greatest teachers over there. She no longer teaches, but she taught anatomy and physiology, and I was on the verge of flunking, and she made sure that I passed it because it was my senior year. And
Perfect.
she basically got me out in the hall and said, Wichascala, that's my maiden name. I'm doing you a big one, because, and it's embarrassing to say that I was going to fail that class, but I think that I just got in over my head. I mean, I didn't really take high school seriously. So we could do a whole podcast on that. But anyways, she did. And then Mrs. Toner, Miss Dutro, a friend of mine in geometry, it was cheating. We were exchanging
answers.
Yes.
I believe that's the definition. According to
we were
Webster's.
exchanging answers. So after class, she, Wichascala and I think it was my sister-in-law, who was my best friend in high school, called us out in the hall and basically said, I saw what you were doing, and I know, and I'm going to overlook it this time, move on. And, never did that again.
My impact teacher was easy for me because the way I felt in his class, I had never felt before in school.
Oh.
And that's because he made me feel like I was smart, and like, not to say that I was dumb. I was like in all the medium, just kind of,
Mm-hmm. I was very
under the radar, just, very just, but in a school that big, people only paid attention and made a big deal over the super duper smart
The honors
kids. Yeah.
I would have put you in the honors section.
Oh God, no. Hell no. I mean, like I said, just very middle of the road.
Okay.
But this man, his name is Mr. Bates. I think he still teaches, but I'm not sure. He taught my senior year sociology class. And two things. One, it's the first time I've taken a class for that part of high school that I took an elective that I actually wanted to take. So that makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It wasn't a required course. It's one I chose.
Yes.
And I also thought it was interesting.
Correct.
I'm like, oh my gosh, people study this?
Yeah.
Yes, I get this.
There's a grade involved for something I like.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was really, really engaging. Like, he would tell, like, sociology lends itself to telling stories. Well, he had hilarious stories about his like super young daughter that, she would do things out in public that like make scenes, and it was hilarious, and everybody loved to hear his stories about being a dad and stuff like that. He also looked a little bit to me like Eric Clapton. Okay. And he kind of had the beard going. So okay. I liked his look. And the thing that he did, so we would take notes. That's all we did. It was run, now that I think about it, very much like a college course. But I didn't know that in high school.
Right.
But I just knew it was different. Like, you just took a ton of notes. Mm-hmm. And I would take notes, and I didn't even realize it, but I guess I would take them and then look up, because I was just so fascinated with like, what's he going to say next? This is so interesting. And he singled me out in class. He's like, Byers, every time I look up, you're staring right at me. Are you even writing anything down? Like, and I'm like, I'm just a really fast note taker. Like, he noticed that I was trying.
Right.
And then we had to do like a presentation and be creative, and I didn't like getting up in front of people, and I was like, Totally loved it. Gave it a lot of praise in front of everyone. I was like, oh my God, maybe I should go to college. Like, I wasn't even sure if I was going to go to college.
Right.
I was like, school's like, I don't really love it. But it's the first time I thought, well, if this is like college, like if this is a college course, which he did finally reveal to us as what he was doing, I was like, well, maybe I can do that. I mean, maybe that's what I need to be doing. Maybe I am smart enough to go ahead and do that. And so I did. And then I got smart in college. So I'm a late bloomer is really the moral of the story. So no, Mr. Bates made it so I felt like I was smart enough just to keep going to school. So that was good.
That's all it has to be.
And I did go back, like, before our 20-year reunion. I got curious to see if he was still teaching there, and he was. And I emailed him, because, they have all the teachers' emails.
Nerd.
Well, I did. I just wanted to tell. I just figured teachers don't ever.
Very nice.
No, I know. I would have done the same thing.
Because
they made a difference.
And that's just the thing. I'm sure he didn't remember who I was, but he made a big difference. And I was like, you probably don't hear this, but you don't know me, but the way you made me feel in class made me want to continue going to school, and I did, and I thank you. And he did reply. It was really sweet.
Yeah. I have gotten several letters from former students that say something similar, that you think, really, that person? I never saw that coming, and it makes you feel good about what you did. You don't at the time. And when you're in it, you don't know.
Yes. Yeah, so I just think my sister is a high school teacher, and my mom was a teacher for 30 years. So why didn't I become a teacher? I just didn't.
Because you couldn't cut with scissors very well.
Yeah, I failed that.
Yeah.
And that was on the refrigerator. I think that we're going to wrap it up for back to school. I think we've done a good job of talking about all the people that we loved.
Thank you to all the teachers.
Good luck on the school. The incoming
kids.
School year. Hey, it's got to be easier than it was last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, it has to be better than last year. That is a good motto for this year's school year. Thank you so much for joining us on Up for Grabs. Please come back and join us the next time when we get together and discuss something that we don't even know what we're going to talk about. So it's going to be...
It's a surprise.
Up for grabs.
It's a surprise for everyone. It is truly up for grabs.